of even hoodoo, uh, hoodoo and
Oh,
southern
sorry
conjure.
guys, we're recording now, by the way.
Hi,
Okay.
YouTube.
Oh, hello. Hey, YouTube.
Hey, Cosmic, could you send that in the chat for me? Like, just copy and paste that link in the
Oh
chat.
yes. Oh yeah, sure,
Thank you. Thank
sure.
you.
And by the way, YouTube, we've got a chat, so you guys should join in the chat. That's where all the juicy stuff is.
Oh yeah.
What you guys see is only the tip of the iceberg. All right.
Sweetness.
Yeah, I
So
was
these are
looking
the.
at I was looking at Saturn yesterday
Mhm.
hard, and all
That
of this
is
came
weird.
up.
No,
Um,
you guys. I was looking at Saturn too, and I wrote like 2 pages of notes on him. That's so funny. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did this presentation. I mean, I've been interested in the pentacles for a long time. Um, Even because what's so interesting about hoodoo and southern conjure is that we draw from other, because conjure is based upon folk magic. So that means particularly hoodoo was about African American folk magic. Predominantly when we came from Africa, or as they tell us we did, into America, the same herbs were not here. So it became a conglomeration of the herb knowledge or the herbology of the Native Americans fused or syncretized with the indigenous practices of the land, fused and syncretized with some of the religious backdrop of the early settlers, the Christians, and so on. What is so beautiful about hoodoo, period, is that you will find different streams of it around the country because all it is folk magic. So we have Appalachian hoodoo, they call it powwow. Of course, I know about Southern hoodoo conjure. You know, down here in the South, we call it root work, things like that. You go into Louisiana, um, it's not really. You'll be very hard pressed. I know this might upset some people, but it's historically accurate. You'll be very hard pressed to find what they call voodoo or vaudou actually being practiced in Louisiana. Now, I know people think that it is, but you'll be very hard pressed to find it. Simply because of the fact that vaudou does a lot with animal sacrifice and things of that nature that are illegal in that jurisdiction. But what you will find is a Creole-centered, a French influence hoodoo that has strong roots with the indigenous vaudou. Let me also say this. A lot of people will confuse hoodoo with voodoo, and nothing could be more further from the truth. Like I said, hoodoo stands outside of any type of religious dogma. Let me put it to you like this. Let me put it in a very simple way. Hoodoo is spiritual practices without the religious dogma. Let me give you an example. In African American Southern conjure or Southern hoodoo, we have what we call laying on of hands. All right, predominantly a type of quote unquote charismatic Christian concept. But you can find that same idea in many cultures around the world, whether you call it Reiki, whether you call it laying on of hands, however you want to present it. But it's not the case that you have to believe in Jesus and go to a Baptist church in order for you to lay hands. That's not what hoodoo says. Hoodoo says we can do the practice and not embrace the dogma behind it. So there are hoodoo practitioners who will quote unquote speak in tongues, and they don't have any type of um, extra sensitive connection to Jesus or the charismatic Holy Ghost or things of that nature. They just know it's a practice and it works. One of the beautiful things about hoodoo is that it's very practical. Now, I said that to say this. Being that it is a conglomeration and it is syncretic, all right, there's a syncretic folk magic system. It also brings in English Renaissance ceremonial magic. And this is why I bring forth the 44 magic pentacles of the Greater Key of Solomon. So for those who are ceremonial magicians or have some connection with ceremonial magic, then these things will seem very elementary to you, but you may be curious, why is it that a hoodooist or a hoodoo doctor would have interest in them? That's because early on in the 19th century, in the 20th century, you could actually order these pentacles as talismans and amulets. And matter of fact, I have one that I wear around my neck always. I have two amulets. I have an amulet and a talisman. One is a pentacle, and I'll show you that which one it is when we get to it. It's on front and back. And the other one is the witch's shield. And what they would do is they would send you these little paper. It will be a print of an amulet. The paper itself will be an amulet, and it would have on the front of it one of the pentacles, depending on what your desire was or what your situation was. And on the back of it, you would write your petition, and you would put a candle on top of that, and your prayers would be answered. So beginning in the order of resonance, let's look at Saturn. The quote says, if you look at the second part of the Greater Key of Solomon, also called Clavicula Salomonis, you can find this online, just type in Greater Key of Solomon. It says, here follow the holy pentacles, expressed in their proper figures and characters, together with their special virtues for the use of the master art. And here are the 7 pentacles consecrated to Saturn. This is, if I can zoom in here. Is that zoomed in for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see that English Renaissance or ceremonial magic, of course, they have very strong ties, strong Christian ties, because that was the 15th century, the medieval century there in England. The Inquisition was going on, and there was a very fine line to walk when it came to magic, because on the one end, you could be a court magician and have the covering of your sponsors, or not, and you could be under the persecution of the Inquisition. So the very fine line you had to walk. So they incorporated a lot of Christian mysticism, a lot of Christian folklore into their practice. They kind of convoluted it a little bit, to syncretize it a little bit, so they would not be easily discerned as something that was quote unquote of the devil or whatever foolish thoughts they had back then. This pentacle of Saturn, you see here that it has some Hebrew writing around it. The inscription is from Psalms. I want to say that. What is LXX? Okay, that's L is 120. I want to say 122 and 9. I just don't have to fact check that. Go off my head.
Was it the numerals?
Huh?
Is that the Roman numeral?
Yeah, LXXII.
It's a good question, brother.
Just so I can look that up right quick. I think I want to say that's 122. Let me see. But moving on, somebody will look that up and check it in a minute. It's called, but it says in that psalm. By the way, psalms were one of the most used incantations in hoodoo. The Book of Psalms, if you want to, for those of you who have Bibles or what have you, it is full of magical incantations. You will find them most concentrated in the Book of Psalms. There is a psalm for any issue that you're going through. There's an incantation for in the Book of Psalms. And so in hoodoo, the Book of Psalms was held in very high regard. They didn't honor any other book of the Bible. It was the Book of Psalms, because it was full of spells, it was full of incantations to be used to remediate a situation. So here it says,
Well, hold on. Sorry. Can we talk about why that is? Why is it that they use the Psalms in order to do rituals? What was the connection?
Well, for one, the beautiful part was that Psalms as a whole, just going through a little hermeneutics, Psalms as a whole is a book of poems, and they're written by different people. Most of them are written by King David, alleged. And what is so awesome is that we don't just see King David from an historical perspective, as you would see in the Book of Kings or the Book of Chronicles, which gives you a historical, chronological perspective of him. We see his personal heart. So we see him when he's angry, when he's upset, when he has money issues. So we see it to be one of the most humane or the most humanly connected books of the Bible. In other words, we see us anthropomorphized in the book of Psalms. We see the tears.
So can I ask you then? Because
Yeah.
can I ask you then? Do you, from your perspective, do you actually believe that these people that they're speaking about in the Bible are actually real people?
I believe that
lived?
there are multiple interpretations. As far as my practice goes, I don't see them as physical people, but I do definitely understand their associations to me as a person. I do see that this is an aspect of consciousness, human consciousness.
Yeah.
Allegory.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to understand. If you're actually viewing them as have lived on the earth, have had a lifetime, or being an allegory of anything.
Definitely an allegory. And by the way, the number was 72.
Oh, so I had the 2 right. Okay.
Yeah. The L is 50. And
50. That's what it is. It's 50. M is 100. L is 50. That is right. Thanks, Summer.
yeah, of course. Go ahead.
But what I will say is that in traditional hoodoo, either these people did, many of them did come out of either the African diaspora and came and converted to Christianity. So even though they had a very mystical, very magical view, they still had a literal interpretation in many cases of the Bible. Of course, now, that might not be the case more so now when you begin to get towards the 50s, the 70s, the 60s, where the New Thought movement began to come in, which gave us another level of allegory to the Bible. Of course, now we're beginning to see, based upon comparative religions, that there is a more astro-theological level to it also. So there are many levels to interpretation. But as for me personally, I don't see it as physical people that actually live, no. Alright, so this particular pentacle was used, let me to terrify spirits which one may seek to control and or subdue. If made visible to such a spirit, the spirit is said to submit and to obey the commands of the mage. It is based upon the verse that says, the Ethiopian shall kneel before him, his enemy shall lick the dust. And of course, these ancient names of God were also transcribed around the seal or the pentacle to empower it. So words like Yod He Vav He represent the supreme name. Adonai represented the sovereignty of the divine, and Aheye, which represents the existence. So one deals with Yod He Vav He, the divine masculine, Yod He, and the divine feminine, Vav He. The other deals with the rulership, the creative ability, through the word Adonai, which means Lord, or to have a sovereignty over what's going on. And then, of course, Yehe, which is the I am factor, when you're coming to an I am state of consciousness. So even these names, these quote-unquote God names, are speaking of names that are called of the God within you. So we have the God in you that's both masculine and feminine. The God in you does have complete control of what's going on. The God in you wants you to have an I am consciousness. You know, so these symbols and these systems always speak to, for, and through the ages. All right, the second Pentecost side. I'm going to actually move quite quick. I'm not going to go through all of these.
Well, sorry, I keep on interrupting, and I'm so sorry, but I have to. Those names that you just called out there are also the names given to Saturn.
Yes.
So Saturn was actually recognized as being the god of the domain of Earth.
Yes.
Just wanted to add that in there, because I think people are not recognizing that Yahweh, all of these godly names, or Jesus, actually Saturn that they're referring to.
Yes. And me and my friend have this conversation because he's a Christian mystic, and he always had some issues with like the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament. I said, well, what the people viewed as the Old Testament was the rule of Saturn. Then it was inherited to Jupiter, which is where we see Jesus come on the scene. That's why we see in the age of Pisces ruled by Jupiter. And it has this very jovial type of expression. But you're absolutely right. These names, these God names, are synonymous with the ancient names of Saturn. This is what the ancient people call them.
To add to that, because what I was checking out yesterday was that Saturn actually has many aspects. So the god that ruled the Old Testament, is it Dionysus?
What do you mean?
Okay. The god that ruled the Old Testament Bible is an aspect of Saturn. It is Saturn, and he was called Dionysus. So Saturn he's a bit like the moon. He has many faces, or should I say, it has higher aspects and lower aspects.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dionysus is supposed to represent the lower aspect of Saturn.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? So it wasn't directly. It's a bit confusing when you look at it, but it's basically talking about the higher and lower aspects of Saturn coming in the different phases of it being in the underworld, and then rising and becoming king again as the resurrector. So it's as if within the cycle he takes on many forms.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because also in ceremonial magic, we kind of covered this before we went live, dealing with the seals. When you look at planetary seals, you will actually have like 3 seals for a planet. You have one that's the seal for the angel of that planet, but also you have one that is the intelligence and one that is the spirit of the planet. This is actually speaking exactly what Mel is talking about, because the one will speak to the higher aspects, if you will, of the planet, or the more what we consider beneficial or easily beneficial, I would say. And then we have the other seal that would deal with the lower, what we would consider the lower aspects of that planet. Because see, all the planets, as Mel just said, have phases, have aspects. There's not just a one blanket Jupiter energy. There's a frequency, there are vibrations of all of the planets, whether it's the moon, Venus, Pluto, what have you. They all have their ranges, I guess is the best word for it.
And you know, it's interesting because you actually, when you look at the chart, you can actually see through the decans.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? As in, the 3 decans show us the 3 aspects, like the lower, the higher aspects, and the intermediate.
You know, that's interesting. I might have to. I think you're giving me a project. I'm going to a syncretic project. I think I can
Yeah, because
syncretize.
you can see. You can
Yeah.
see. It's like the beginning as the Aries, the infant, when you're or the first 10 years of your life, or the first, what do you want to say, the first 20 years of your life, as we were talking earlier, Joe, when
Uh-huh.
we're experiencing, and there are a lot of energies that we take on board, and we're moving forward, and it's really about the I am. And then as you shift again, your consciousness changes and you become aware of other people. So you can see those energies within the decans and within the rising and falling of Saturn,
Mhm.
and that Old Testament, as you were talking about. Interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Where is that at? So this is the second pentacle of Saturn, and this inscription, I guess that would be 72. Yeah, 50, 72 and 8. Psalm 72 and 8. His dominion shall also be from one sea to the other, and from the flood unto the world's end. But what you would do with this one is you would have this pentacle, and then you would make this inscription here, the Satori inscription, which you find all the way back to ancient Rome. You guys would be very interested to do some Google searches or do some research on the Satori inscription. It's been found everywhere. It's weird. Um, what they would do, they would write it in different. They would have the same letters transposed in different ways. The third pentacle. This one is for when you're doing magical work at night and dealing with spirits that relate to Saturn. All right. This one, I like the way this one looks. This is for workings dealing with death, ruin, destruction, and also when invoking messages from the south. All right. And the fifth, this is for protection at night. I think we actually have a let me see if I know we have a wait a minute. That's weird. That's actually one of the pentacles I've got on my keychain right there. I thought there's a video out there that goes through them. I thought there was. It was a pretty nice video too. But maybe not. Alright. Nevertheless. So what you would do, you could print these out, or you can draw them yourself, which is even better. Put your own energy into them. Which, depending on what situation you need remediated, this is a very common hoodoo prescription to remediate issues. You would whatever your problem was, they would have a solution based upon the planetary energies of that time. And you would print this out. On the back of it, you'd write down what your issue was. You have a corresponding candle lit on top of it, and before the candle had ended, it would have remediated your issue. Look at the pentacles of Jupiter. That's a beautiful one. These are normally transcribed in the color blue. It's like Saturn's in the color black. Let's see here. That's the second one. This is for the acquisition of material riches and honors and general success, and also to obtain peace of mind. Also to discover treasures. And not just treasures, but I've used this seal to find lost stuff. this is a very this is a very well used pentacle for general protection. This is used for general protection from all manners of spirits. The general, I think somebody called it the shield of Jupiter. I think it's what one practitioner called it, this seal. All right. This one again is for material wealth, as also for honors in life. Okay, this one, you can take this pentacle, fold it up, and put it under your pillow to invoke dreams and visions. This one is another. Maybe this was the one they called the shield of Jupiter. They all look like shields. Either this one or the other one. But this is also for protection from earthly dangers. This one is to avoid poverty, hard times, also to discover hidden treasures. Pentacles of Mars. Now, we were talking about before, someone asked me about, how do you leverage and balance and counterbalance and counteract certain influences in your chart. Here's a very prime example of how to do this. So, we know that 49% of all ailments are caused by Saturn, the other 49 by Mars. The rest of them deal with other influences in the chart. Well, you really want to look for where Mars and Saturn is in your chart to see if there's going to be some type of affliction in your body. Now, when it deals with Mars, you have a bad aspect to Mars is causing some type of affliction in your chart, specifically as it relates in your body. This seal will counteract diseases and afflictions when applied to the affected part of the body. You can take this seal out, begin to rub this on certain aspects of the body that are in pain. Now, I will say this is only going to work for Mars-caused pain. So if it's being caused by Saturn, this seal will do you little to no good. But you're looking at your chart and you're saying, hey, I've got an opposition in Aries to some, and I'm beginning to feel all these headaches and stuff going on. This would be a key prescription you might want to look into. Now, another way you can do this from alchemy, what the alchemists would do is they would have their parchment paper and they would soak it in a planetary tincture. Is anyone familiar with what a tincture is? No? Okay. So, a tincture, very simple way to describe a tincture is you take a plant that has some type of planetary attribute, let's say a Jupiter plant, all right, like sage, for example. Sage is a Venus plant. You would take sage, you would put it in a vessel, you would cover it with grain alcohol, something like some 80-90 proof alcohol, and you would let that sit for about a month, 2 months at least, and it would cure. But what happened is that the alcohol would take on the properties of the plant. So at such time as you're finished with that, like I said, at least 2 months, you would take your paper, your parchment, and you would kind of soak it in that tincture, let it dry. So now you have essentially a Venus talisman, and you would then inscribe the sigil or the pentacle on that piece of paper, corresponding to the same planet. All right.
Interesting.
And I mean, there are hundreds of uses for tinctures. Some of them you can ingest. And then if you use a specific, that's what you call a medicinal tincture or a herbal tincture.
If you go into these seals and how you can use them in regards to tinctures that I didn't know anything about. So, give thanks for that.
What'd you say now?
You know, these seals, I wasn't aware that you soak them with the tinctures of a tincture or a planetary tincture in order to heighten the frequency.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Matter of fact, writing these seals on anything is going to amalgamate the energy to that object. That's why they were written on candles or inscribed on candles. So in many cases, just printing out the seal itself was considered a talisman.
Yeah.
This is if let's see, this sigil right here is to resist any attempts of injury, plotting against you, ill will by others, to block their negative thought forms being sent at you. Alright, this is to be used to aid in the attribution of virtue and power to all acts and issues relating to war, to grant victory in war or battle. We common people, we don't go to war like that with our neighbor, up in arms. But we do have competitions that we're in. So this would be a good seal, that's a modern appropriation of these things. When you lived in 15th century, 16th century England, then yeah, war is a big issue. The Crusades were going on, all types of things were going on. But nowadays, we don't have that same type of issues going on. So modern appropriation is, you're in a competition with some people. Hey, Mars is going to be a good ally to have on your side.
Yeah, Cosmic, before you continue, I think it's very interesting that like you could really see the energy of the planets in the effects that these seals have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like Saturn brings spirits to your will, and Jupiter brings you benefic treasure, and Mars grants you war victory. I think it's
absolutely. Just speaking of that, here's a psalm right here that says, "Thou shalt go upon the lion." They actually should say adder, which is a snake. The lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon, shalt thou tread under thy feet. And of course, as to what Mel was saying a little bit earlier, I believe that this pentacle would fit perfectly with Scorpio. Any disagreements?
No, I'd agree.
So this is
sure.
Let's see here. In other words, you can even see in the upper right hand, upper left, this looks like almost an arrow here. We can see that as the tail, the stinger of the of Scorpio in place. Let's see. Yes, it says, "Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bow shall be broken." This is against when people have malicious intentions towards you. That this not only stops them, it reverses them. We say, and who do we call it? A return to sender work. Seventh pentacle. And this is for causing tempests and causing hail. The sun. Bam! Look at that. Behold his face and form, by whom all things are made, and whom all creatures obey. Of course, it's El Shaddai. You guys hold on one second. Let me check on my beans.
Okay, now I'm confused. Isn't El Shaddai Saturn?
Yes. No worries. I had the thing on the wrong eye anyway. I turned an eye on the stove on and put the pot on a whole different eye.
I did that the other day. I put my pot on the fire thinking that I'd turned it on, and when I went back in to stir it, I hadn't even turned it on.
Right.
Bro,
Get out the oven a
isn't
lot.
Al Shaddai, isn't Al Shaddai Saturn?
El Shaddai is an aspect of Saturn, absolutely. El Shaddai means I want to say, yeah, it means the Almighty. But what is very interesting is that when you go even into Paleo Hebrew and you follow these words back even farther, it means, this is something interesting, the many-breasted God. The many-breasted God. And the idea was that there was enough, or that God had enough supply for everybody to be thoroughly nourished. So El Shaddai is God the Almighty. Elohim is considered God the Creator. And what's interesting is that Elohim lays out the laws of the universe, but El Shaddai can bend them, override them. So he's considered the Almighty. He's the one called upon to work miracles, things that kind of defy, if you will, the natural order of things. There's a bending and a shaping, a loophole in the natural order of things. This says here, this is talking about the angelic names that are written around. If you look here, because Hebrew is written from right to left, you see here you have the Aleph, which is A. We have the Lamed, which is L. We have the Shin, which is an S. We have the Resh, which is like an R. Then we have the Yod, which is an I. So we see that El Shaddai is written behind this visage, behind this face. Alright, let's see, what does it say? Control and mastery over all creatures who belong to the countenance of Shaddai or Metatron, cause for reverence of angelic spirits upon beholding the pentacle. One of the three pentacles of the sun belong to the nature of the sun. This also mentions Metatron. Metatron, who many believe was Enoch when he got translated into heaven, is the highest ranking angel, second only to God, because he's the only being in that cosmology that sits in heaven. There's only two people that sit.
No, there's one more after him, and that's Melchizedek.
Melchizedek, yes. So these are beings that sit. And I always thought it was because, Enoch was recording, so I'm sure, he wanted to sit down while he was writing all that stuff down, but I don't know the actual particular reason why they say that.
So the higher aspect of Saturn is Metatron.
Metatron, Melchizedek, Sandalphon, all these angelic frequencies.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay, you just blown my mind. This just makes so much sense to me now. Why I've been researching Saturn for nearly 3 weeks straight.
Oh yeah, it's widespread. It's widespread. Even in this pentacle, you can see on this lower right axis, there is the symbol, the astrological symbol for the sun right there. In this particular pentacle. This is for repressing the pride and arrogance of the solar spirits. Of course, this is the number 2 of the 3 pentacles that belong to the nature of the sun. Here's another one. This is to acquire kingdoms and empires. So let's see, a modern appropriation would be if you're thinking about consolidating your business, I guess, buying into a industry, something of that nature. To acquire renown and glory. All right. This is actually one of the pentacles that I have on around my neck. This is the 4th pentacle of the sun. Okay. And you guys message me if you want one of these, and I can get you one.
Yeah, I want one.
Yeah, seconded.
Just let me know what you guys want.
I'll just tell you straight. Yeah.
Just let me know which one you guys want. I've got a friend of mine. He casts these and he gets me a pretty good discount for them.
Cool.
Or you can find some of them are online too. But I know that my guy, now he's an astrologer. Okay, he's a bona fide yes astrologer. So when he casts his pendants, he does them on the best, astrological aspects he can find. So let's see. This one enables the possessor to see spirits which appear invisible to anyone else invoking them. So this one reason why I have this one is to help my clairvoyance. But I do a lot of spell work, so I want to make sure that what I'm doing is effective. All right. This one is to invoke spirits who can transport the invoker from one place to another over a long distance and in a short time. So astral travel, or I should say soul travel, is greatly enhanced with this pentacle. This is the one that's, see what he does, you can, the testament I have, it's got two seals, one on the front, one on the back. So the other one I showed you, the fourth one's on the front, and this one, the sixth one's on the back. This pretty much allows invisibility. Now, let me clarify some things about invisibility, because I get asked all the time, Cosmin, do you have any invisibility spells? Let me be clear. It's not going to be like you just poof, okay, and vanish. All right, I want to put the disclaimer out there. Any spell that can do that, I would definitely like to get a free sample. Otherwise, they're probably charlatans. What it will do, it will make you unnoticeable. That's really a more proper term. So I've had people, I'll wear my pendant and I'll take it off and come back and see, now I'm looking for you all day. Now I've seen this person, we've been right next to each other in line at lunch. I saw you at the red light. We've been looking for me all day.
Oh, wow.
Because they see you, okay, but they did not notice you. If that makes sense. So that's what these pendants do. So that's what, when people say it's an invisibility spell and it's an actual invisibility spell, that's what they mean. You're not just going to go poof, where it's not going to bend light around you, so to say, so nobody can actually see you, which means that you won't go noticed. Now, of course, if you go to the person and start saying boo boo bye bye, then that's probably going to break the spell. They're probably going to notice you making these crazy faces in front of their face. But if you're, just trying to not be seen, not be noticed, kind of be hidden in the crowd, makes it a lot easier. This one, the seventh pentacle of the sun, enables the possessor to escape from imprisonment. Now, I actually use this. Long story short, my roommate's boyfriend got locked up because he had 2 bench warrants for his arrest. And they were like, can you please help? I don't believe in this stuff, but, I'm at my wit's end. I did a reading for them. And they said, is there anything we can do? I said, well, sure. I said, I can do some court case work. That was about Friday. The person was going to go to court on Monday, and they were either going to have to come up with $1,200 or they were going to spend 60 days in jail. Well, we did a honey jar for the court case for the judge. We did a court case candle, brown, proper herbs, and I also used this seal. That happened. They were put in jail on Friday. Okay, we began working Saturday into Sunday morning, about 4 hours worth of work. Monday they were released. So it works. This is the Pentacles of Venus.
Wait, Cosmic, before we go on, did that person come up with the appropriate amount of money? Or did they let him go regardless?
No, when they went to court, the judge threw out the case.
Wow. So it's not just literally breaking free of a prison.
Right, but I mean that was how I. This is the beautiful thing about hoodoo. Hoodoo is all about appropriation. So this was how and when you work in magical systems, it is about appropriation. This is how I appropriated this seal, this particular pentacle. And by the way, I did have some verses that I used out of Psalms that I prayed. I didn't use this one. I used Psalm 68, which is well known in the hoodoo tradition for court cases and things like that. Matter of fact, what I would do, if it's okay with you guys, I will upload my file on the 150 Psalms and what they can be used for magically.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
No doubt, no
all
doubt.
those people out there that have not yet joined the group,
Right. You're
guys
missing.
are missing out on some serious information by not joining the group. Okay? We only share little tidbits with you. The rest, everything else is in the group. So please feel free to join.
Absolutely. Just let us know. I mean, we've got books in there, we've got articles in there, we've got videos in there, we've got merchandise in there. I mean, this is only the tip of the iceberg. This, of course, is for obtaining grace and honor. I actually used this scripture here on one of my dates. This is before I knew about all this, and I still love this verse. But it says,
hold on. You used it on a date.
I did. I mean, they didn't know it was a verse from the Bible, but what it said was, set my love as a seal on your heart, as a signet on your arm, because love cannot be drowned out by the flood of many waters.
Oh.
See there? Exactly. That's exactly what they did.
That's lovely.
That's exactly what they did. It's beautiful. This one is to attract a lover of one's choice by merely showing it to him or her. I don't know. I haven't used that one. I've got, I'm a Taurus, and I've got Venus pretty prominent in my chart, so, I don't really need a lot of charms for flirting and stuff. I naturally flirt with people. So, but for those who are kind of challenged in those areas, socially, I would definitely, in any social regard, not just romantically, if you have some type of social challenges, I would definitely recommend working with the energies of Venus, and particularly with the Pentacles of Venus also.
I like the duality hourglass shape as well, when considering that has to do with a lover, and a male and female coming together.
But don't you think, you see, for me, I get, when it comes to stuff like this, especially when it comes to relationships, I am mindful that we are manipulating somebody else's free will.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it feels. I don't know, that's just how it feels to me, especially when it comes to, I don't mind doing rituals in regards to practical stuff and, bringing through certain manifestations or creations. But when it comes to working with somebody else in order to bring about a situation, that does not, it just doesn't feel good to me. It feels as if there's, well, that's my own personal you know what I mean? And anyone can do what they want. That's
So,
entirely.
and I get this question a lot about, is it manipulating somebody else in love? And don't get me wrong, there are ways to do that. I will not sit there and lie and say there aren't, and there are streams of that in hoodoo. I will not say that they are not. What I am saying is that this particular case, and the way that I approach it, is that if you're with someone, okay, it is going to draw on whatever inclination that person already has towards you. It's going to make them surface. So even if they aren't, head over heels for you, whatever loving tendencies they have, it's going to bring that to the surface. And that gives you a little bit more to work with. No, I may not look like Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks or whoever, but I got some damn good looking eyes, so it's going to help accentuate my eyes.
I kind of feel like it's every man to their own then, because for me personally, for me, when I look at magic, the first thing that comes to my mind is the law of polarity, the law of response, the law of, do you know what I mean? All of those laws. So for straight away, I'm like, okay, if I do this, there has got to be a response, or there has got to be something that comes after this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And for me, that price is too high because I don't know what that is.
It sits uneasy with me as well.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, and if that's the case, then I would prefer that whoever's going to love me, that they do it because it comes naturally, not because I have had any part in it to evoke or manipulate or bring. Nah, that's just no.
Here's an exercise. You get a piece of paper, and instead of having narrowed down somebody, oh, I like, Jenny from the block, why not write down 12 attributes that you love, that you want in a lover, that you would like to manifest in your life in a single individual. Write that down and have a corresponding candle over that to invoke that. Like, I'll put it like this. Something that my friend did was revolutionize my look on this. He said that there was somebody that he liked. What he did was he used the law of attraction, and he asked for not that person. That's what the ego wants. It wants to hold and possess and, dominate that one person, My friend asked the universe, bring me the available version of that.
Now, I like that.
I said, like that. When he said that, I said, give me your hand. I gave him a high five. I said, man, what you just did articulated what I've been saying. But when I say it, people think, oh, you're talking about domination, man. I'd have to start saying it like this. What we're asking for, what we're invoking, is the available version. What version of this am I a corresponding vibrational match to?
Yes.
Let's manifest that into being.
I love that. Now, I would use that sigil to do that ritual without and calling no one's name and just asking for this person to become present and available. That would be lovely.
Yes.
And it sounds a lot more like Venus in that sense. The way it was put before didn't sound like the loving, humane characteristic. When you put it that way, it actually resonates more with what I think of with that energy.
And bear in mind as well, that we're asking that this person is actually available.
Right.
So they must also want the same thing that you want in order to be available. Oh yeah, I love that. That's nice.
And see, even when it comes to the energy of Venus, you have to realize that, yes, she is the flirt, so to say, but she's also the seducer.
Yeah.
You look at Paris of Troy. That was a dude she put her eye on, and the hell with Athena, the hell with Hera, she was going to have Paris. And, you know, as Mel has said, I 100% back her stance. When you deal in spiritual law and you work from a magical perspective, understand that what you're going to reap is going to be amplified. Because you aren't just using your hands, so to say. You are using spiritual law. So it's going to come back amplified because you're using an amplified energy. So just like Mel said, you know, if you think for whatever reason that's worth the cost, you know, that's between you and your consequences. For me, there's nobody, you know, I don't dislike myself enough to put myself in jeopardy by trying to dominate somebody else, you see.
Yeah.
This is way too much going on.
For sure.
Way too much going on. Alright, that's another. Mercury. To invoke the earthly spirits. This one's to grant to the wielder anything his heart desires. I don't know how well that works. And by all means, I do encourage people, please try these pentacles out. Let us know how they work for you. I have not tried all 44 of them. Let us know how you appropriated them. We'd love to know.
Yeah, we would, for sure.
This is used to invoke the angels within the pentacles. So that would be Kokovite, Vael, Goraya, Savanaya, and Kokmayel. But you can clearly see Kokmayel is a malination of Kokma on the Tree of Life. But that's what these ceremonial magicians did back then. They just put anything with EL, made it an angel. Now this will probably be the next seal I get cast. I just love how intricate that is. I just love that star. This will probably be the next thing that that I get. This one is to command certain spirits to carry out assignments and missions, to acquire knowledge and understanding of all things, to discover and uncover hidden things or truths. So this pentacle, one of the ways it can be worked, number one, if you are in school, or even if you're not in school but you are going through some type of vocational training that has assessments at the end of them, and you want to make sure that you remember, make sure that your mind is clear, that you have a good understanding. This pentacle will yield its help to that. Also, it makes it very difficult for people to lie to you. They will either evade the truth, or in a particular case, when I used this sigil, this pentacle, they stuttered. You just knew that either they were lying, or they were about to lie. It made it very obvious. That's an appropriation I've used. Are used to open doors. Both otherworldly and physical doors. And of course the moon. Now you can tell this.
See how much different that
I was just about to say that. So now you see clearly that this pentacle is totally other than what we've seen before. We've seen them kind of sphere in a circle, kind of rounded about. But here the moon is letting you know it's a whole other type of energy.
Yeah.
Being involved here. This one is also used to break, to open doors. You can also, I guess, use this verse, kind of what we talked about before, in jail or court cases and things like that. It says, he has broken the gates of brass and smitten the bars of iron in sunder. I would also say, hey, if you're dealing with an addiction, this just came to me, that you're trying to break free of, I would definitely recommend appropriating this sigil. Breaking the gates of brass, spinning the bars of iron. You feel locked in, boxed in, tied down with this addiction. You really can't get free of it. Either you're kind of enchained or encapsulated into it. This can definitely have some leverage for you. let me just say this. Okay. There's some people who might argue with me on this, but the pentacles themselves are nothing but letters and ink on a piece of paper. Okay. There's nothing. It's just me talking, my opinion. There's nothing intrinsically magical, if you will, about this, or about the pentacles themselves. What it is that these images and these vibrations are hitting your superconscious, your subconscious, and causing a change from within that you see expressed from without. They're causing some subtle changes within you, because the only person you ever meet is yourself. The only work you ever do work on is yourself. Even if you say working for a client, you're still working on yourself.
Yeah.
It just may show up and the conscious mind perceive it as something that happened out there in your life, but it's all happening within you. I just wanted to make that notice.
Yeah, for sure. Your environment will acquiesce to your internal vibration. So
absolutely. So I want, you know, my thoughts about magic is that we are not thermometers. We are thermostats. In other words, we're not controlled by the temperature or by the environment. It does not dictate our internal temperature, but rather our internal temperature dictates the environment.
Yeah. And I think that's important that you say that, because if you think about it, I think what we're also doing when we create magic is we're changing the energy field around us.
Yes.
And when you think about it, we are the ones that are actually creating the energy field that is around us. So it's as if what we're actually doing is transmuting our own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes. It's alchemy.
So when we talk about we're doing, to be fair, I actually feel like this is alchemy.
Yeah.
What we're doing is creating through the mind, bringing it into our environment in order that it then impacts us. So it's like, it's as if one hand helping the other, one from an internal state and one from an external state.
Yes, very good. Very good. All right, guys, hold on. Let me check my beans for real this time.
yeah, that realization that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state is very empowering if you truly accept it.
Yeah, it is. And what it does is it makes you take responsibility
For
of
sure.
what you're thinking, what it is that you're feeling. And I can see how these pentacles would actually be, it's as if you're choosing to hold a particular state, a particular frame of reference, and the pentagram actually helps you to step into that frame of reference. It's cool.
Yeah, this website's rather fascinating.
Well, I tell you the truth, I've had to kind of get my head around it, because magic kind of it freaks me out a bit. But I know why it freaks me out, because I am a natural alchemist. I'm a manifester, and I know that there have been times when I've manifested and it hasn't been from the highest good. So this time around, I am very mindful of what it is that I do and how it fits in with universal law.
Yeah, certainly have to be aware of the potential for consequence, since it is a fundamental law of the universe.
Exactly. And it's as if it's stuck. seriously, I know that I have done some messed up things in past lives because it's literally as if it's embedded in me that if you do not understand the laws of the universe, do not touch magic from a perspective of personal gain.
Mm-hmm.
Be very aware of the laws first before you do that, so that you are aware of the consequences, as we said, because
Mm-hmm.
there has to be consequences because we live in duality.
Yes. Oh yes. She was right. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. When I went through training under my grandfather, the first 8 years, okay, the first 8 years of my training was nothing but reading.
So they get
Nothing,
sorry, nothing but what?
nothing but reading.
Okay, yeah,
Nothing but reading. He wanted to make because his motto was wisdom before power.
yeah.
Matter of fact, that's the name of my website when it gets up and running. Be wisdom before power. Don't nobody copyright that. Um, wisdom before power. So because he said the wizard pursues wisdom before power. It is the sorcerers that pursue power before wisdom. He said that we're
Aha.
not sorcerers here.
Thank you. Thank you. Because it's as if literally you've just spoken my life.
Hmm.
Have to learn the wisdom first before I actually put what it is that I know into action. Be wise
Absolutely.
about yourself.
Absolutely. Because it was only then that my grandfather could, I guess you could say, trust me, that I knew what it was before there was any doing involved.
Yeah.
Uh, they say know what you're doing. Well, you have to know first before you do.
Yeah.
And what's weird is that some people say, well, you learn as you go. He wasn't that type of person. Because the things we're going to be dealing with is not there are dire consequences for what you would call mistakes or mishaps. So you need to have a thorough understanding, at least as far as you can, before we begin to do any application.
But you know the thing is though, I believe that he knew that you already knew. Because the wisdom that he has given to you is of it's as if he has done that before. So
Mm-hmm.
when he was teaching you and you didn't need to know the practicalities because you've already done the practical before in lifetimes you needed to remember by attaining the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And in attaining or remembering the wisdom, it's as if you then remembered your experience of the practical.
Yes. Very good. Very good point.
He knew you were an old soul, my friend.
He probably why I'm an old soul. I've been hanging around him most of my life. That's why I get that old soul syndrome, bro. I'm raised by old people. This this pinnacle here is for rain, causing rain and tempest. Also to stop rain. Anything that pertains to the water, protection from all. This is used for protection from all perils pertaining to water. Here's an appropriation. Uh, get get a seal or this particular pentacle, and let's say put it around your faucet. There's some water contamination going on before you boil your water in your city. That's been going on in certain areas of the world. They've been getting a lot of water contamination. They've got to under boil water advisories, things of that nature. So here,
Cosmic, okay. Is there a pentacle for peace and balance? Because I feel as if it's time for us to put this into practice now, but as a group.
Sure.
We need to be doing these pentacles together as a group. When more than one come together, we're more potent and actually radiating the energy of a peace pentacle throughout Earth.
I see what you mean. Yeah, like a global. I got you.
Yeah. Even if it's just the group that we do it in the group for now, but I seriously believe that the power of all of us innately from the divine creator and setting the intention for peace. I think it would be interesting for us to see the outcome.
No doubt.
For sure, and there really doesn't seem to be harm in putting peace out there.
Exactly. Especially we're in a time where people are a bit erratic, to be fair.
I'm thinking maybe the second pentacle of Jupiter. Um no, that's for riches. Let's see.
Is Jupiter not about expansion?
Jupiter is about expansion, yes. Let me see. This may be one. The second pentacle of Saturn. To be used in the counteraction of grief brought by adversaries of all kinds. Or adversities. So that's one. Put a pencil by that. And maybe Venus.
Yeah. In Libra.
Yeah, to be fair, I was actually more thinking about a feminine energy, actually.
I'm sure you were. Let's go to old sister Venus. Okay. Ray Sonata. I actually thought there were more pentacles in this, but it might just be 44. Maybe the second pentacle of Venus. Or the first pentacle, because see, the first pentacle normally deals with just general ability to work with the spirits associated with that planet.
Okay.
Normally the first pentacles deal with the ability to work with the general spirits, or I should say, the general ability to work with the spirits associated with that planet. So there are spirits of Venus that definitely deal with peace, love, absolutely, because somebody's got to come in and heal and restore what Mars and come to break up and expose.
Seeing that Venus rules Libra, it's certainly about balance and peace.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very good point. Let me see what else is going on with the moon.
And you know what? I think that fits very much as well in regards to the fact that we're addressing Martian energies at the moment, and the Venus is Mars.
Right.
So I think Venus would be, because it is actually the balance. I think it would fit very nicely.
Yeah, and we've been talking recently about how we need to reintroduce the feminine back into society, so it also seems to fit that area.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's good. So let's go with the first pentacle of Venus.
And I think it's quite fitting as well that you were saying, I'm sure it was you, Cosmic, that was saying that Venus is the oldest planet of all of them.
Right.
I think that's quite fitting that we actually address um, the, what's the word that I want to use? Um, okay, the word that comes to mind is high priestess.
Mm.
She's the high priestess, and there's a level of healing that needs to take place.
Very cool. So here's a way to appropriate this. You guys can, print this out if you can, like green paper or print it out in green ink. Um,
I think you said it right the first time. In order to get the potent, in order to actually connect your intention into what it is that you're trying to do, it's better that you draw it yourself.
draw it yourself. But
Yeah, I
this is
will.
not a hard one to draw.
Yeah, that it isn't. But I think when you actually place your energy into something and your intention into it, it changes the energy of it tenfold.
Right. Very good stuff now. This is not a hard pentacle to draw.
It would actually be interesting though as well, Cosmic, to know what those Hebrew words mean there.
Also, these Hebrew words are angelic names. Um,
That Michael, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel.
no, these are some other ones.
No?
No, these are Nogahiel,
Okay.
Athaliah, uh, Sokodia, and
Nakareth.
Nambria. Let me see. Noon. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Yeah. Okay. So they're going counterclockwise. I had to look for where the noon was because noon is in Hebrew. They're going counterclockwise. So from the right to the bottom to the left to the top.
And that's how it needs to be drawn.
Right.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait a minute. My Hebrew's kicking in, folks. My Hebrew senses are tingling. Um, wait. I used to read Hebrew really well.
Are you sure that's not Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel?
No, well, I'm right about the names. The names are. I'm looking at the order they had
No,
it written in.
in the sense of it feels like it's them just under a different name.
The name. Oh, you can definitely write their names in like that. That's absolutely up there. That's absolutely up there. These are just specific uh, angels that work on the frequency of Venus.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If I'm gonna do me some Google searches on those names, and you want to do that in green if at all possible.
Mhm.
Put this in the group. Oh, Rentum Tormentum. Uh-oh. Don't want that, folks. That's a curse. So don't copy from this website.
What's rental? What? Say that again.
Y'all didn't see that? So when I tried to copy
That's
from it,
funny.
it says rentum tormentum.
Wow.
Yeah, that means don't copy for them. It's a curse. It means to rent apart, to tear apart, and to torment.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So they take their copyright very seriously.
Mm.
Who knows? I might put that on my website too. Don't copy and paste from me. Rentum tormentum.
Interesting.
That's all I've got.
No, that's plenty. Thank you very much, bro. That was a blessing.
Yeah, certainly.
For information as usual.
No problem.
As usual. Give thanks. YouTube, we're gonna close now. So thank you very much. Guys, you wanna say bye?
Take care.